Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Today I am going to address a subject that some of you have been asking me about over the years, which is celibacy. So I want to be clear about what I mean by celibacy, because there's a lot of ways to look at it. Celibacy, in my book, simply means you're not in a romantic relationship. You're not dating anybody seriously. You don't have any even casual dating regular partners that you're with. And certainly you're not committed to anything. Ideally, celibacy is you're completely non-attached on a romantic level at all. Now, a lot of people want to talk about celibacy in terms of semen retention, and semen retention is, it's a whole other thing. It's like saying, you're committed to physical exercise, and then somebody talking about, being 100% committed to bodybuilding or something. It's bodybuilding is in the giant neighborhood of physical fitness. So semen retention is in the neighborhood of celibacy, but that's not the point of it. And I don't know why. I guess I can, if I examine it, I might come up with reasons, but I don't really know why that's become such a big deal. And why that people want to talk about that all the time. I guess I already know the answer. Most men, it's usually men, and it's young men. And when they talk about semen retention, they're talking about saving their power. They believe that releasing their sexual fluids will release their power, and they feel disempowered by others. They feel they're giving their power away. And maybe we'll get into that discussion. But let's just talk generally about celibacy versus relationship. In the past, it would have been celibacy or marriage. And you would have made a commitment to one of those. So what are the benefits of it? So let me tell you my experience with it. I ended up being celibate for 6.5 years. It's a long time. From the age of, must have been 28, was it? No. Is that right? Yeah, that feels right. From 28 to, must have been 34. That's how long I was celibate. And the reason for that wasn't because I had chosen to do that. I had been in a relationship, a very serious romantic relationship, and it just drained the hell out of me. And I just, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't give her what she wanted. And part of that is because she was asking a lot, but the other part of it was that I just wasn't wired for that. I wasn't wired to just have all of my spare time devoted to somebody else. I even couldn't sleep in the same bed with another person. Just somebody lying next to me was, all I could think about was, there's somebody there, and it would just, I couldn't relax. I needed to be in a nice cocoon little thing all by myself. So if I dated somebody and, we spent the night, I was sleeping in another bed. I was not sleeping in the same bed with them. And so that causes a lot of problems because a lot of people like to sleep together in the same bed. And so we got into a lot of fights because I wasn't able to give her what she wanted. And on top of that, I just felt drained. Just all the energy was just getting drained out of me. And we were fighting a lot, and one of our friends said, "Here, I've got a solution for you. Take 2 weeks off from each other and don't talk to each other. Don't call each other on the phone. Don't have any communication for 2 weeks. And then at the end of 2 weeks, come together and you can make your decision about what you want to do. And so we did that, and had to have been, maximum 1 week into it. And I realized I felt better. I felt like I wasn't, being drained of energy. I felt more creative. I felt, I felt better all the way around. And I realized halfway through those 2 weeks that, that's it. I'm going to break up with her because I'm just much happier alone. And literally the moment that I made that decision, that I came to that conclusion, my phone was ringing off the hook. This was back when we didn't have cell phones. You actually had to pick up your actual phone. My phone was ringing off the hook, and I pick it up, and it's her, and she's crying. I know that you're going to break up with me. I can feel it. And, that was just, to be honest, that was just more fuel to confirm for me that, she is energetically connected to me. And this was before I was into a whole lot of spiritual anything. It was just obvious that she had some non-physical connection to me, that the moment that I gained my power back and pulled it in, she felt it and was on the phone, upset. And so that was a pretty good indication. And anyway, I won't get into that. So that started me off wanting to be celibate, and I hadn't really formally thought about it. I was just happy not to be in a relationship and not wanting to be in a relationship. Now, the problem for me, it's still the case today, is that I have a very high libido. So it makes it really challenging to be single and to be, as libidinous as I am. And it was certainly true of me back when I was in my 20s. So that was an issue. And I started to understand why some of the medieval Christian monks used to, lop off their cojones so that they wouldn't have a sex drive. I don't know that that's what a lot of celibate monks did back in the day. And I understood that because it was just driving me crazy, and I didn't like to be driven crazy by that. So around that time was when I was introduced to this. The five, all of the stuff that I do here, by the way, everything that I teach here came from this. In fact, the Celestial Qigong, which I think is me doing that there, the Celestial Qigong came from me reverse engineering this, the most powerful practice I've ever experienced. And so I coincidentally, right around not too long after that, I was introduced to the Maoshan spirit fighting forms, and the power was immense. And I all of a sudden I was getting all of, what I wanted directly from the universe. So all of that Shakti, all of that feminine energy, all of that power. By the way, guys, if you don't realize it, I'm going to help you understand this now. Why you are attracted to women isn't because of your conscious sexual fantasies. You want to be with her because she's hot, or you want to, go and do the nasty with her, or whatever. That's not why. You want her because she has power. And a good relationship is when a woman is giving you power. Now, I was not in a good relationship. She was taking strength from me, and she was not giving me power. Even when we were, it wasn't that I wasn't getting, my physical needs met. I was. But even in that, she was, because of her dysfunction, she was draining my strength from me. So no matter what I did, she was just draining my energy. Or at least that's how it felt to me. So all of a sudden, I'm doing these practices, and I am filled with true power. And the thought of being with a woman was like, why? I have all this power literally in my hands. I can feel it. I have tremendous power, and I feel connected, and I feel peace, all kinds of stuff that I didn't feel. feeling, just burdened by responsibility just for somebody else's feelings, can just be really draining in and of itself. And, she was pressuring me for lots of things. She did one really stupid, crappy thing. I did not want children. I still don't, but I didn't then. I didn't know that was going to be a lifelong thing for me. But at that time, I was busy running a theater company and, chasing after a career. And I was very busy and I didn't have any money. And the last thing that I needed was to raise a kid. So I was clear. I don't want kids. If you want kids, I'm the wrong guy. And she wanted that. And then one day she came to me and said that she thought she was pregnant. And I didn't say anything. I just remember looking at her. And of course, inside I'm panicking. And all of the blood must have just left my face. And she goes, God, and she got really upset. Why aren't you thinking about me right now? Something like that. And I'm like, you were just testing me? She said, yeah. And then I got really angry. I said, don't ever do that to me again. So those kinds of things. That's who I was with. Some really insecure woman that was testing me to see if she could. Anyway, I won't talk about her anymore. But now I was getting my power directly from the universe through this practice. And my teacher was talking about being single. And that if you really wanted to gain power, in fact, if you wanted to gain the high levels of power, you had to be completely single. And we started talking about the interchange of male and female. And that, if you're doing this kind of a practice, then you need a woman who really is connected to herself and is, because otherwise she'll drain you of your energy. Look, men can do it to women too, by the way. So don't get me wrong. But I'm a man, so I'm a straight man, so of course that's the dynamic I talk about. And ideally, what is supposed to happen in the relationship energetically is that the man gives the woman his strength, and she takes that strength and gives him her power. And so there's an interchange. So each one of them will feel something leave and then something come to them. And the other person is giving them what they're missing. And then as a unit, they are more empowered together than they would be apart. So that was the question I used to consciously say. If I was dating somebody, I'd say, am I better with this person or apart from them? And if the answer was, I'm better apart from them, then that's usually where it would end up. So the idea is whether you are single or whether you are in a committed relationship, the idea of both of those is the same. It is to seek the dynamic balance of the masculine and the feminine within yourself. If you are single and you're like me, let's say a straight male, then that means that I need to, within myself, take the feminine from the universe. So I end up having a relationship with the universe where the universe is my mother. And I take the feminine power directly from the universe to balance that within myself. And I've shared this before, but this was early on, this was a long time ago. And things were a little bit different back then, but I grew up, men didn't hug other men. You didn't do that. So if two guys were going to hug, it was one of these, things like that. And so the whole idea of, the whole macho thing, all of that, and the things were very different. People were very prejudiced against anything that wasn't the typical sexual orientation, and so there was a lot of that going on. And so when I first started practicing this and I started gaining power, my teacher would talk about tapping into the feminine. And it's not what you think. If you've never done anything like this before and you hear somebody say tap into the feminine, it doesn't mean putting on a dress and putting makeup on and, making doilies. That's not what the feminine is. In the martial perspective, in fact, the reason why people who do this practice are very, if they're good at it, why, your average martial artist can't touch them is because the average martial artist is all yang. It's all masculine energy. And they don't know how to put the feminine into it. And when you put the feminine into your strikes, you end up not hitting with strength. You end up hitting with explosive power. So women who do this, by the way, if they're able to tap into what's necessary, they can become even more deadly than men, explosively powerful. But in order to get that explosive power, you have to tap into the feminine within you. So I was meditating, and I was new to all of this, but my meditations were very deep and very powerful, which was something new for me. And I was meditating and everything was black, and I've told this story before, but there was like a shelf here, and up from the shelf this little girl's head popped up. And she was very shy, but I could tell that she was very interested in me and but she was very shy, very timid. So she'd just pop her head up and then pop down. And then, I said, it's okay. And she popped her little head up and she had a black eye. And somebody had been beating her. And I was mortified. Who would beat this little girl? And then I realized that's my feminine side. That my whole life, all that macho training, I had been, thinking that anything feminine was weak. And so I'd just been pounding, trying to pound that out of me. And so I had, I welcomed her back in and I apologized and asked for her to be a part of me and all of that. And of course, my energy practice and my martial practice went through the roof. So this is really the point of celibacy. However you identify, that you balance that other side within you. And my dearly departed soulmate, used to give me some of the greatest compliments. And one of them is that she would say to me, what is so attractive about you is that you're both masculine and feminine. I still don't know what she's talking about. I just love the fact that she could sense that both of those were there. What she specifically saw in me that was feminine, I don't know, because the way I carry myself is definitely not. I don't seem to have any of that, but she saw something in it. And I wouldn't have liked that under any other circumstances, except that having been a Tao practitioner myself, I realized that she was giving me a tremendous compliment. And I loved it. I loved hearing it. So you're either getting it directly from the universe and your own, empowering your other side, whether it's masculine or feminine, or you're getting it from your partner. And either way, both of these, the whole point of marriage and the whole point of celibacy is the same, which is to have that dynamic union of masculine and feminine, and then having true self-awareness, being completely individuated. To be completely individuated means that you, as we have said before, is to have an internal locus of control. It means that you don't need anything outside of you to give you your identity, to give you your validity. Now, there's a lot of people who are single. In fact, I'm going to talk about people who are some of the biggest unwitting hypocrites about this. They're not trying to be, but they are. And these are the red pill MGTOW boys. These guys talk a lot about being self-empowered and they don't need the feminine. But then if you let them talk long enough, they will start to tell you how women are out to do this to you and that to you, and the legal system. And the more that they talk, the more of weak victims they become. And so they don't have an internal locus of control. They have a completely external locus of control. And they try to get their sense of validity and power by narcissistically abusing women. This is what the whole pickup artist nonsense is about, where you go to a bar and you learn how to passively aggressively make women feel insecure and find the ones that are insecure, that have daddy issues or something like that, and so you can get them to, and manipulate them into going home and sleeping with you on the first date. Or, there's no shortage of things out there trying to target, guys my age, where if you learn how to, you can get 20-year-old girls to chase after you, by manipulating them or, taking advantage of whatever their issues are. But that's, people who talk like that are the opposite. They actually desperately, these are little boys whose mommy wasn't there for them. I'm not trying to make that, not trying to, demean anybody, but that's just the fact. So the MGTOW boys are little boys whose mothers weren't there for, I don't even know them, but I guarantee you, if I sit down with them and ask them a few questions, we're going to find out mommy was not there for them. Because for men, and this is true for women, the opposite is true for women, but for men whose mother loved them and allowed them to individuate, those men will love women. Because you end up, if you're a guy, you end up marrying your mom. If your mom was neglectful or abusive, then you are going to marry a neglectful, abusive woman. And then she'll do everything you said. She'll take your money and turn you into a sperm bank and then divorce you. And then the legal system will do whatever it's going to do to you. And the same is true for women. That for women whose fathers, we're talking about straight women, of course, and mothers, whose father treated her respectfully and loved her unconditionally and did not objectify her and helped her to individuate, she's going to find and attract those kind of men. And she will marry her father. Of course, if daddy is neglectful and abusive and who objectifies women, then they will chase after the bad boys who will treat them like crap and objectify them, and then they'll complain that, oh, men are no good. And so it's all the same. It's all the same nonsense from both sides of the aisle. So the whole idea of celibacy is to be able to find that internal locus of control, to find that peace, and to find that power, and to be fully empowered. And after those 6.5 years of doing that, I had gained a tremendous amount of power. I was able to do all kinds of Dr. Manhattan kind of things. Not just because I was celibate and I was not having my energy mixed with somebody else, quote, taken by somebody else. It is true, that did help, not being in a relationship. Bear in mind, I'm not talking about no fap. That's unnecessary. It's about being in a relationship, about having the psychic connection where somebody can take your energy from you. That's what it's about. It's not about the sexual release. People think that's a big deal. It's almost nothing. It's not that it's not there, that isn't a part of it, but it's so little of it that it's really not worth even talking about. The drain that happens is a result of the psychic, emotional connection through the relationship and through the act of lovemaking that does it. And so even though guys, there are guys out there who don't release sexually, and they'll still be sexually active, but they won't release, and they somehow think that they're, keeping their energy. It's nonsense. I'm telling you, it's complete nonsense. It's not that it's not true that if you do release, there won't be a release of energy, but that's not what drains you. It's the emotional, psychological connection. And so celibacy is really about being with yourself and learning to have that relationship within yourself. And, or if you're married, then the idea is to still, as I said, balance the yin and yang in the external world. And you end up in the same place. You end up having a state of an internal locus of control. If you're in a good relationship, then you have that. If you're the feminine part of the relationship, then the masculine is giving you strength, which allows you to be yourself and allows you to have an internal locus of control. If you are a man and you are in a relationship that works with a woman who has an internal locus of control, she reflects back to you your potential, which gives you the experience of being fully individuated. And as my teacher said, here's how you know you're in a good or a bad relationship. In both of them, you say to your partner that you love them. But is it that I love you because I need you? Or is it I need you because I love you? And it's, I won't tell you which one is the right one, but that's, you want to ask yourself that question. Is it that I love you because I need you? Or is it I need you because I love you? All right, so I'm happy to open it up for questions if there are any. And before I go, please, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the like, the thumbs up, and hit the bell button so you'll be notified whenever I upload a video or go live. Go here to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. If you want to have the Dr. Manhattan power, you can press play and follow along with me. If you sign up now, I'm pointing at something you can't see. If you sign up now, email me after the 1st because you're going to get charged for both, and I will refund you for the few days for this past month. Or you can wait until the 1st and sign up then. If you want to see all of the stuff that I have available, you can go to courses.thunderwizard.com. All of these things are here for you, so please take advantage of them. All right, now let me see if there are any people on. Wow, there's no questions whatsoever. So you guys must be so riveted. How many of there's 12 of you on, so there's not a lot of people there. Well, we don't have any questions. We don't have any questions. We do have a special celebrity guest who has showed up. We have Thundra Staves Rangel. You can go check out her phenomenal page at thundra.thunderwizard.com. She is one of my certified Vedic astrologers, and I don't know what else she does. She does a bunch of other stuff that's quite frankly beyond my pay grade. So you can go check her out and see what she has to offer. All right, here we have a question. Runa Arcanorum says, question. Can you disclose the name of the teacher, guru, and or sifu that you have? I'm genuinely curious. If it's personal, please ignore it. I totally understand it. Some traditions keep it secret. Well, I've had multiple teachers throughout my life. My Maoshan teacher, I am not going to publicly reveal that because he has not given me permission to do so. And he and I are no longer speaking. I believe he's still alive. But we had a falling out. Actually, we didn't have a falling out. He had a falling out. He just decided one day to just completely, totally discard me and broke off all communication with me. He didn't say why, but I think it's because I made the celestial qigong And even though he had given me permission to do so, he really got a burr in his saddle over that, and I believe. And so I'm not going to give you his name because he hasn't given me permission. The teacher that I currently have is, I don't feel comfortable giving out his name at the moment either, because actually he's extremely busy with some personal issues of his own. So I don't think he's looking for any attention. But if things change, I'll be happy to give away his name. And he's in a totally different tradition. He's a guy who taught me a lot about Kundalini yoga and mantra and things having to do with that. I can give you one of my teachers. I think yes, he is still alive. He's getting up there in years. And this is my African shamanic drumming teacher who taught me a lot of things connected to the Ifa tradition of the Yoruba tribe of West Africa. And his name is Baba Ayo Adayemi. So I'm answering your question, even though you don't realize it, it is disrespectful. And you can probably guess why. It's a disrespectful thing to ask your teacher, can I have your teacher's phone number? It's disrespectful. If you're learning from me and you're getting something from me, then does it matter where I got it? Just to know, I mean, the one teacher who I can't give his name out because he hasn't given permission, he's taught me a lot of great stuff, but obviously he's got some serious personal problems. So who would you rather work with? Anyway, you didn't mean anything by it, but technically speaking, in some circles, like some traditional teachers, if you were to ask that question, the teacher wouldn't talk to you again. He'd just turn his face and never talk to you again. And you'd have to figure out what the hell you did wrong. That happens a lot. That would have been one of those things. You don't do that. It's disrespectful. Thunderous Dave's Rangel. Question. Why does Chinese medicine discourage men to release too much? I've seen many times that it will deplete their energy and physical body. All right. I will explain that. As you've heard me say, that's nonsense. It's not that there isn't some validity to it, because of course there is. I mean, it takes energy to create life, etc., etc., etc. But it's really not as big of a deal as they make it out to be. But let me explain it to you. The idea is that the feminine receives. The feminine is designed, the whole physical aspect of the feminine is designed to receive. And so it wants to take the energy of the male and then create with it. Ideally, in the relationship, she takes the energy of the male, recycles it, and gives it back to him in whatever way. But really, as I said, it's happening on an energetic level. Now, to illustrate this, I'm going back into my 20s in college. And I can remember a guy in college explaining exactly what it was like for me. So I can remember being in my 20s in college, and I was not good. I was horrible at what goes on in college where everybody's sleeping with everybody. And I couldn't do that very well. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't feel right doing it. And, what would happen is I would just get so crazy horny that I would, pick up on a girl and, go do the nasty with her. And then the moment I was done, I was like, oh my God, I wish she would just go away. And it created a lot of problems, and I hurt a lot of girls, and a lot of girls hurt me. And so I was really bad at that. But what would happen is that you're just crazy. You're crazy, driven with lust. And then as soon as you release, then fall asleep. By the way, ladies, with older guys, that doesn't happen as much. But when you're 20-something years old, 30 seconds, you're done. And you're just asleep. And I don't know how many women have experienced that. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to round two? Right? And he's just dead asleep. And he was talking about, and girls used to, I don't know if they do this, but they did this when I was in college, and I used to make fun of it. Because right afterwards, right after blast off, um, women would say, "What are you thinking?" It's just like, and so one of my friends was talking about how some girl said that to him. And it might have been his girlfriend. His girlfriend was, "What are you thinking?" And he's like, "Huh? What? I'm not thinking anything." And that's the point. That was the whole point, is so I don't have to think, to release all of the intensity. So with younger men, and bear in mind that Chinese medicine is based back in ancient times when people lived to be 40 and then died, right? So, being 58, I would have been an old man 2,000 years ago with all my teeth gone and all that. So things are different now, and people, so some of the same generalizations don't apply. And that is one that doesn't apply. It says that they discourage men to release too much. It's not that won't, but the depletion, there is a energetic thing, release of Jing, all of that. But it's really that young men especially are seeking to turn their head off, because all of that energy, and especially that testosterone, is making their brains go nuts. And they just want peace and quiet. They want to stop thinking for a little while. And so that's what they want from women. They want that release so that they can just lie down and relax and not think about anything. Now, of course, what happens is, energetically, the woman gets empowered with the man's energy, and she wants to talk. So what are you thinking? What are you not? Yeah, tell me about your day. Leave me alone. I'm tired. They're now full of energy, and they want to create with that energy. And what they want to create is an emotional connection. Again, this is a generalization. If this doesn't apply to you, don't get your panties in a knot. Generally speaking. So have I answered your question? That's basically what that means. Shelmar, Dakota, question: what to do if someone is constantly on your mind for years? What to do? I just have to say, people ask questions like that. Go ahead and ask a full question. What to do if? It's kind of awkward. Just a pet peeve of mine. You don't talk like that. If you're talking with your mouth, do you walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, what to do if car no work?" No, you say, "What should I do if?" So you're asking about yourself. So the best way to get to me is by revealing that this is about you. You're talking about it in the third person as if it doesn't mean anything. So, Shamar, I want to help you, but in order to help you, I have to know what your issue is, what your problem is. So share with me your emotional connection to this. What to do if someone is constantly on your mind for years? What do you mean? I need more specifics. Is it Jesus? Is Jesus on your mind for years? Well, then you go to church and you pray to him. Are you talking about your ex-boyfriend? You can't get over him? You're still thinking about him years later? Give me an idea of what it is you're talking about so I'll have a better ability to help you. Thunder Staves Rangel, honest feeling, I think it would break my heart if my teacher abandoned me. Well, I know your teacher. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you have anything to worry about that. It was fairly devastating. The truth is that, karmic, relationships are all karmic. Every single relationship you have, no matter what kind, whether it's your friend, your parents, marriage, job, teacher, student, it's always karmic. And once that karmic debt has been paid off, one of the ways you know that is that the relationship becomes, no matter how hard you try, you can't get it to work again. That's one of the ways that you know. And I was working with him, and I had been with him for off and on for decades, and he was becoming so irrational and so dysfunctional, and he was draining my energy because I was helping him. I was trying to help him, and we were trying to create a business together, which was a bad idea. I just said to the universe, I said, I wish he would just disappear. I wish he would just go away. That's exactly what he did. He just disappeared one day. And the most hurtful part was that he then went online to an online forum and he publicly smeared my reputation. That was hurtful. And he said things that weren't true. Whether he was lying or whether he was delusional, I don't know. But he said some untrue things about me, and that was pretty hurtful. And in fact, I had to stop practicing for a while, because every time that I would go and practice my sets, I would think of him, and it would really bother me. So I'm over it now. Let's see, Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello, and he is also a visiting celebrity. You should go check out his website, Vincent.thunderwizard.com. He is among other things, he's a Vedic astrologer and distance healer, and he is a shaman in his own right. Go check him out. If you want me to do that for you, what I just did for Thundra and for Vincent, you can go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com. You'll save, I think, $1,000 or $2,000. I can't remember. You'll save a ton of money on a bunch of stuff, but you will also get courses for Vedic astrology. I teach you my exact system of how to do Vedic astrology readings and rune readings. And if you pass the very simple test, I will give you your own website and promote you if you come onto the channel and say hello during a live stream. Yeah, okay, so let's see, what else? Where were we? Agent of the Universe, honest feeling. I feel like I'm scared and I want to empower myself to help be more aware of my deepest feelings. That's awesome that you are aware of that. You are doing, I don't know all the stuff that you're doing, but at least the stuff that you are doing that I teach is going to be helpful to you. So, and being honest with your feelings, as you know, is a first step for that. So keep that up. So Shamar Dakota is going to answer my question because I wanted to know more. She says, oh, it's a he. Sorry. I think I saw Shamar and I thought it was a she. Okay, he. What's interesting is that, I got to be honest with you, the way that you asked the question came off like the question a woman would ask. So I'm going to process that as I read this. So you say, I am a guy, and there is a girl that has been on my mind constantly for years. I don't know why, I don't know. You say, and I'm not sure why. What do you mean you're not? You have to give me more information. Did you date her? Is it some woman you saw in a movie? What do you mean it's just some girl and she's been on your mind for years and you don't know why? Come on, man. I need more information than that. This right here is part of the problem. Part of the problem is you're not even aware, or you're not being honest. There's something, and again, I thought you were a woman because that is the kind of thing like a 13-year-old girl would say, or a young woman who gets into dysfunctional relationship with men. It's not usually a thing that a guy says. So that tells me something. It tells me that there's some deep wound in there. It leads me to believe that there's some serious mommy issues, because it's the kind of feeling that goes with a little kid, a little 4-year-old. And you're not even able to tell me, yeah, it's my ex-girlfriend, or it's this girl that I met and I was in love with her. And what do you mean you don't know why? I mean, I can tell you why I think about women I think about. I'm very aware of what are the feelings that are making me think about it. So that tells me that you're disconnected, you're stuck in your head. A lot of issues there. So bottom line is it has nothing to do with her. But until you're able to be direct and honest and vulnerable with me, I can't help you. So try again. Thunderstaves, I already said that one. Okay, yes, you're right, Thunder. That is, in fact, more of a opinion than a feeling. Thunderstaves Rangel question: how can I become more desirable to good quality men? Oh, that is real simple. Become more desirable to yourself. Become that person you've always wanted to be. And do it because you want to do it, not because somebody else wants you to do it. You know, there really is nothing more attractive than, I'm speaking from a man's perspective, it's probably true for women. There's really nothing more attractive than a woman who just enjoys being in her own company. A woman who loves herself and, is, of course, human, which means she's vulnerable to other people's opinions of her. But she's the kind of person that says, you know what, I don't care what that guy thinks. It hurts me that that guy thinks that about me if it's bad. But I know who I am. And I love me for who I am. And I'm not going to change me for anybody. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to love me for me. That is the most attractive thing there is. And that will drive away the predators or the weak men. That will drive them away. Because both predators are weak men, and even if a weak man is not a predator, he's still looking for a woman that, since he doesn't feel worthy, he's looking for a woman that he can, convince her to be with him, find some way, money or something like that, to hook her in. As opposed to what we all should be wanting, which is to be loved for who we are. Have somebody want to be with us, no matter how much money we have or don't have, no matter what we do or don't do. They just love being around us and they want to be with us. And what makes them happy is us doing what makes ourselves happy. That's the ideal partner, somebody who loves you for who you are. And when you're doing your thing and happy about it, that's what turns them on. So in order to have that, you got to be that. You got to be somebody who's really into being themselves and doing their own life and happy just by doing your own thing. Then you find a partner as opposed to one of these energy magnets thing, which is, what most relationships are, especially the dysfunctional ones. That's what people call twin flame. Twin flame is really just another word for highly dysfunctional, unconscious relationship. Agent of the Universe question: do you believe we're close to? I'm not going to go there with you. I think I've tried to make that clear that I don't want to go to these places with you, Agent of the Universe. I'm just telling you, this is your dysfunctional thinking. To want to go to those extremes, to be that dramatic about things. So I want to encourage you to not indulge in that kind of thinking. Don't think about things that aren't your business and out of your control. You're worried about things that aren't your business and that you have no control over. Just focus on yourself. I understand your feelings. It's okay that you have those feelings. But don't waste your time worrying about stuff you don't have any control over. Focus on yourself and what you can do to make yourself happy. Thunderstaves Rangel, honest feeling. I am tired of having men tell me I am too deep. I feel too weird and emotional for most men. Well, you are too deep for those superficial idiots. So you're not tired. Yeah, you're tired of those men. Trust me, there are men out there that are looking for what you have. But you have to, own that within yourself and get comfortable within yourself, and then you can start attracting it. In the meantime, you're going to have to play out your old programming, which attracts these guys, so you can go, I don't want that. And when you make that shift, when you own it within yourself, it'll shift in your external life as well. But I understand what you're talking about. I had that same experience with women, so I understand. All right, here we go. So Shamar, before I go on with your question, let's just be clear. You didn't give away any of that information. And I want you to feel, and it's understandable because you don't know me and most people don't want to go that deep. Most people in the world only deal in a superficial intellectual manner. So you didn't know any better. But I just want to make it clear to you that your instinct was to try and get some deep answer from me, but you weren't willing to reveal anything. In fact, what you just said is completely opposite of what you're saying now. Because the last thing you said was, there's a girl that's been on my mind and I'm not sure why. And that's bullshit. You know exactly why. You say it in the first sentence. You say, it's a girl I fell in love with. So what do you mean you're not sure why? I'm asking that as a rhetorical question because I know that. It's like, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's that bullshit, everything's okay. I'm not going to, you're ashamed of your own emotions and your own vulnerability. So you act like, I don't even know why. But if you think about it, how could I possibly help you if you don't know why you're doing something that doesn't make any sense? I'm thinking about somebody and I don't know why. What do you think it is? I don't know. Are you insane? Is there something wrong with you? Oh, it makes perfect sense now. You're a human being. You're thinking about her because you fell in love with her. So don't, own that. It's okay to be human. It's a girl I fell in love with. It happened spontaneously. Again, I don't know what that means. And I do not know her well. That is the reason I don't know why I feel the way that I do. What do you mean you don't know? So you didn't date her. But you still didn't tell me. Are you friends with her? Did you see her in high school? I mean, you strike me as a young guy, right? You're a young guy. Did you pass her in the hall in high school and she was beautiful? Was she a cheerleader? What do you mean it happened spontaneously? You mean you just looked at her and you fell in love with her, but you only knew her for 3 seconds? Or, again, there's more to it than this. More to it. So the real answer is learning how to be honest and real with yourself. So your question of why are you still thinking about her? I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, you don't know her well, so you didn't date her. How can you be in love with somebody that you don't know well? So from a psychological perspective, this is called transference. Transference means you take existing feelings that you have for somebody in your present or your past and you transfer it onto somebody else. So clients do this with psychologists and spiritual teachers all the time. They meet their spiritual teacher or they have their first session and they go home and they're in love with their therapist. Well, you don't know your therapist. You're transferring usually feelings for your mom. I bet you have mommy issues. You're transferring probably your feelings for your mom onto this girl you just met. There's something about her. She reminds you of your mom. You don't know her well. I don't know what that means. If you had, if it happened spontaneously, then of course she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything to get that from you. You're completely giving it to her. It could also be projection, which is you project things about yourself onto somebody else. So when you've just met somebody and you've dated for a little while and you're madly in love with them, and what you want to do is you want to pick them up and take care of them and do everything for them, that usually means that that's what you really want them to do to you, but you project it onto them. So I don't know. If you don't know her, it happened spontaneously, like she just Cupid snapped his fingers, and the next thing you knew, you're madly in love with some girl you don't know. How am I supposed to know more than you why it happened? I have no idea. Those are my guesses, though. And it also gives me the feeling that you're young, right? You're in your teens or your 20s, right? Because if you're not, if you're in your 30s or your 40s, it means there's some serious unresolved issues going on. And it's not that I'm judging you. I did it. You know, I fell in love with my soulmate, and we were together for a couple of years, and then she passed away. And then I met somebody and completely projected and transferred onto this woman. I fell in love with her, and she turned out to be mentally ill and tore me to shreds. So I do the same thing, but like I said, either you're a young guy, you're a teenager or early 20s, and you're still growing up and you're doing really childish kinds of things with your feelings, or if you're an adult, it means you got some serious issues. Or the outside is that she's your soulmate or somebody from a past life, but usually that's all nonsense. That's all projection. By the way, all relationships are projection for the first 6 to 9 months. That's why people fall in love and they date for 6 to 9 months, and that's the magic period when people break up, a year at the most. Between 6 months and a year, that's when the transference and the projection starts to wear off, and you start to see that this person wasn't the magical being that you had, you know, the unicorn. And, oh, it's a human being who farts and burps and, you know, needs to brush their teeth and, you know, isn't always happy. And they're seeing in you. You're not a knight in shining armor who's, you know, 6 feet tall and, you know, ripped abs. And oh no, you're imperfect too. And so you have to now see the person for who they are with their imperfections. And then the reason why people either break up right around that time, or they'll have challenges. Maybe they'll break up for a week or something, and then they'll get back together, and then they will redouble their efforts and they will commit, and then they get married. Because then they fall in love with who the person is, not what their projection is. So, Shamar, it's 100%. You are, whatever it is you think you feel is 100% not connected to who she is. You don't have the first clue about her. It's your narcissistic fantasy based on childhood issues or something like that. I don't even know what. So I don't know why. I would recommend seriously going and talking to a therapist about it. That's what they're there for. So you can figure it out, and then you can let it go. If it's bothering you, I mean, is she still around? Are you thinking about her like 5 years later? That doesn't sound like a very fun place to be. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Do with them as you will. Bryce Gertson, you're on my radar because, you know, you haven't quite come into what it is I want, and you had to throw out your opinion. They have more who are they? I mean, women? Women have more criteria, generally speaking? It's not true. It's not true. It's so not true. Bryce Gertson, you tell me honestly, you've toyed with red pill, pickup artist, MGTOW stuff. That's the kind of thing a MGTOW guy would say. If you're talking about women, that women have more criteria than men, generally speaking. Just not true. So far from true. Some of them do, sure. So this is where the MGTOW boys go. The MGTOW boys think women are New York models. So they generalize because that's their narcissistic superficiality. They objectify women. Here's the thing. MGTOW boys, and whether you're a MGTOW, I don't know, Bryce, or not, but you got me thinking about it. MGTOW boys, what they do is they objectify women. They start out objectifying them. So the hypocrisy is that they get mad at women for doing what, of course, they're doing, which is all a projection. And there's a projection, it means that you are seeing in somebody what you are actually feeling and or unwilling to look at within yourself. But there's this thing called projective identification. And that is when you have a projection, for instance, that's a projection. Women have more criteria than men, generally speaking. That's a projection. And if you really buy into that projection, which really means that you have more criteria for women, you have a lot of criteria that they need to meet. And you're projecting that onto them. So what ends up happening is that if you have that, and you go on a date with a woman and you start either outwardly or inwardly thinking about, all she's looking for is she wants my money, she wants my status, she wants my this, she wants my that, she's got all these things. Then eventually what happens is you actually hypnotize them into being exactly what you were just projecting onto them. It's called projective identification. If you go to a party and you go in there with the assumption that everybody hates you and won't accept you for who you are, and you get a chip on your shoulder and you walk around and you're like, yeah, everybody, you're just like everybody else. You don't accept me for who I am. And then pretty soon people start going, I wish that guy would leave. He's just, I just don't like who he is. It's called projective identification. You convince people to act towards you the way that you came in there projecting on them to be. So Bryce, am I wrong? You're a red pill, MGTOW, you flirted with that? You kind of like that idea? That women use men to level up? Is that what they say? That women are looking for men so they can level up in the world. They want to take his money and he needs to be right? Am I right? Tell me if I'm right or not. Okay, Shamar says, this happened 4 years ago. I was just wanted to forget about her. I'm 20. I met her when I was 16. So, am I the Thunder Wizard or not? So yeah, you're a young guy. You were 16 years old, man. I was 16, 150 years ago. You didn't have the first clue what the hell was going on. I mean, literally speaking, you had just woken up sexually. Your brain hadn't caught up with your crotch. You had the brain of a little boy, and you had the crotch of an adult, and hormones were going crazy in you. I remember how, by the way, women, especially 16-year-old women, are clueless at how horrifically torturous it is to be around them. Meaning that they're oozing this sexuality, and they're usually just crazy hot, and they're totally clueless. They still think they're 12 years old, and they're running around in little skirts and jumpsuits, and you can't keep your eyes off it because you've just now discovered this. 4 years earlier, ew, girls were cooties, and now you're like, man, right? So you were a kid. You didn't have the first fucking clue what was going on. I fell in love with every single beautiful woman that even looked at me when I was 16. So you didn't know her that well. You fell in love with her. You're 20 years old, 4 years later. So, it would be really good for you to sit down with a psychologist. You're not crazy. It's just you've got, something snapped in there. There probably is some mommy issues there. Have you not been in relationships? What should have happened was you should have gotten in a relationship with some other girl or a few girls since then and had a bunch of sex and fell madly in love with them, and then, you would have forgotten about her by now. So the fact that you're thinking about, because you're 20 and 4 years ago for you is a huge percentage of your life. It's a real, for me, 4 years is nothing. But for you, 4 years is a long time. For you to be obsessed over a woman that you didn't know for 4 years means that there's something's broken. You need some help. You need to go talk to somebody and figure out what it is about her that you got so attached to. Or maybe you need to just go find some girl and have, the greatest sex of your life with somebody else. I don't know. But trust me, in another 5 or 10 years, you won't be thinking about her. This will be history. Okay, Creative Virgo, you know the deal. Questions or honest feelings. Bryce Gertzen, honest feeling, you were on the money with the red pill stuff. Of course, I'm the Thunder Wizard. Some of my projections came out in my current relationship and I feel like I need to grow up. Good, then do. Then do grow up. You can choose to do that. You can choose to do that, and you can choose to, what I wasn't going to say earlier, I can remember when I was in my 20s, and I talked in the last live stream what I was doing when I was, after I graduated. I went to, I basically got the equivalent of a master's degree after being in college for 8 years. And then I went to Hollywood and I co-founded a theater company while working 2 jobs while acting and auditioning and all that. And I was working so hard I put myself in the hospital. And then after I burned myself out doing that for however long that was, 6 or 8 years, I was completely burned out. I forgot what I was going here. But during those times, I had really hot girlfriends. And I had no money. I had nothing. I've been in relationships where the women bought everything. And I'm like, listen, you don't have to do this. And like, no. I'm just happy you're with me. My fiance who passed away said, I in fact I like the idea that you don't have any money. I hate men that are all about money. And she was hot. She was really hot. She was really loving and really beautiful. So I'm going to call 100% bullshit on that projection, that they have more criteria, generally speaking. That nonsense that's been shoved down your throat, that women are looking for men to level up. Are there women that do that? Of course there are. Are there men that do that? Yes. In fact, there are men that make a whole career out of finding rich women and taking all of their money. Watch Dirty John. I mean, that happens all the time. And so you can grow up. So you grow up by not objectifying women, by not projecting onto them, by doing what I suggested that Thundra do, which is to really do what you can to love yourself, to work through all of the shame, work through your mommy issues. I know you have them. If you're a MGTOW boy, red pill, you've definitely got mommy issues. Work through your mommy issues. Go find a teacher, counselor, mentor, somebody that you can work that stuff with. Do the 90-day, Warrior 90-day. Are you doing Bryce Gertzen? Are you doing that? I'm willing to bet no, right? You're not doing that. Go sign up for the Warrior 90-day challenge and get the Shakti within you, the feminine within you. Because I tell you, man, I love women. If I'm with a woman, I worship that woman. I go out of my way to make her know that she's everything. Now, of course, I don't throw my life away for her. She has to respect me and love me and admire me too. But that's one way to grow up, to see them for who they are and to have the desire. I tell you, the best relationship I was in was, what saddened me the most at the loss of my fiance wasn't all the stuff you would think, which of course were part of it. What was the most sad for me was not being able to see the look on her face when I did something that made her happy. I mean, I lived to be able to do or say whatever it was that would just get that look on her face of seeing that she felt loved and appreciated. And of course, she would reward me handsomely for that feeling. So it was easy to do. That's a relationship. And there's none of that in those projections. Women have more criteria, generally speaking. They use men to level up. You can't trust them. You're just a bank account. There's none of that in there. And that's why those red pill guys, that's why they always end up with those shitty women. Because the women who have that are going to see the red pill guys coming a mile away. They're going to just get the hell out of the way of that guy. It's not that they don't exist, it's that they're not interested in men who dislike themselves like that. They're looking for a man who feels strength within himself and, of course, is going to have that for his woman, so to speak. What else? Anyway, but I take my hat off to you, Bryce, for having that honest feeling and being honest with that. So, agent of the universe, you know how this works, man. You're not following the rules. Bryce Gertson, honest feeling. I am grateful for your wisdom. It helps me in my shamanic work with people as well. Okay, good. I'm happy that I'm helpful to you. Okay, so no more questions, no more feelings. All right, so is that it? Are we done? I guess we're done. Well, thanks, guys, for I hope this was helpful for you. If you are somebody that is looking, because I'm starting to think, maybe I want to go celibate for a couple of years. Because I'm starting to realize I'm right now I'm enjoying being alone. I don't have a problem with it. Now that my sister's passed away, that means every single one of my family members are gone, which means I have no more karma. So those of you, as time goes on and people that you're related to start passing away, whatever your relationship with is with them, positive or negative, what you will notice is that your karma dies with them. The karmic connection you have with them dies with them. And I'm feeling that. And I'm feeling the freedom. There's literally nobody on the planet that I have any karmic responsibility for, any karmic connection. I'm free. I really am free to now redefine myself, do whatever the heck I want. There's nobody that's going to have any issues about it one way or another. So I'm thinking maybe I might go celibate for a couple of years. I haven't decided. But if I do, it means I'm going to start doing this stuff more. And I don't know, maybe continue with what I'm doing. I've been enjoying working out 6 days a week. That's been a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying that. Of course, it wipes me out for anything else. But if you are thinking about that, I strongly recommend taking a look at the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. If you're in a relationship or you want to be in a relationship, then guess what? I also recommend doing the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, because either way, it will give you an ability to be individuated and to connect to whatever it is you're lacking, whether it's the masculine or the feminine. All right, that's it for me, guys. I wish you all the best. Take a look, see if there's any last minute thoughts or questions. Let's see here. There's some spam I can get rid of. And then Creative Virgo question. How does one... This is horrible. How does one express rejection of advances of a so-called lonely man? I attend a local senior center and a fella is now asking to go for walks, etc. I know being diplomatic does not work as well as he is continuing. I do not want to be rude, but maybe I have to. So Creative Virgo, you haven't shared, you don't need to, but you shared with me some of the specifics, and I had some very specific advice for you, if you remember. telling you to move out of where you lived and to go to a specific self-help group. And so I still have those same questions. Have you done those things? Because quite frankly, this is kind of a codependent question. Why are you being nice to somebody who is being, at the very least, is not being respectful of your boundaries? Or is it that you're not telling him no? So I don't know. He says, do you want to go for a walk? You say, no, thank you. I like walking alone. Very nice of you, but I'd prefer to be alone. You're just going to have to get used to not giving somebody what they want. So I don't know how else to help you with that. But all right, that's all right. I'm not going to say that. What else? Anything else? Okay, nothing else. All right, guys, that's it for me. I wish you all the best. I will see you guys all soon. Take care.